Hello, I'm Howard Mann, creator of Conscious Shifting, and welcome to Conscious Shifting. Before we get started, a quick warning and disclaimer. Conscious shifting and all known side effects will improve your physical, mental, and spiritual health while providing the ideal environment for spiritual awakening, helping you live the life of your dreams and influence the world in a positive way. So if this is something that interests you, you can follow us on Facebook or subscribe on YouTube, and then join us here Wednesday nights, 6 p.m. California time for Conscious Shifting. But there's so many of you, it's impossible to interact one-on-one with everybody. So the best way to communicate with us is through our daily thought-provoking posts or during a live. Simply place your question in a comment box and we will reply from a spiritual perspective. This will benefit all. All right, so let's see who we have in here so far. I see Kim and I see Susan and I see some others who at this point are unnamed. Welcome. Everybody take a deep breath way down to the lower energy center and exhale. And one more time, big deep breath. And exhale. And one more time, big deep breath. And exhale. All right. I see Estella. Welcome, Estella. Glad to have you in here live. Hi, Tina. So tonight's topic is 5 things you must understand to change your stars. Now, the question here is, do you believe that there's no hope of changing your stars? In other words, do you believe that your fate is set in stone, that all of this is predetermined, that our destiny is just something that we are along for the ride? Perhaps you've been taught that your life circumstances are determined by the date, time, and place of your birth, or that everything from the future events to your personality result from something like the alignment of stars. And if so, then you probably think that your life experience is something that's beyond your control. Hi, Cheryl. Love, laugh, and be happy in the house. Hi, Naomi. Of course, you would then believe that you live your life as a helpless victim and believe that life just kind of happens to you. Now, these ideas have been around since the beginning of mankind, and unfortunately, they're still very widespread. It's no wonder that so many people feel like victims. Looking through these worldviews, is it the least bit surprising that people would lose hope? The question then becomes, well, if that's the predominant wisdom of the world, then could so many people be wrong? In fact, they are absolutely wrong. Whether you believe it or not, your fate is in your hands. And here are 5 things that you must understand if you want to change your stars. Hi, Chris. How you doing? Hi, Kathy. All right, so let's get started here. Number 1, mystical forces do not control your life. A lot of people believe in a lot of stuff, and that's fine. But although there may be things that operate in this universe and they may have some influence, they do not control you. It's not that you don't have any say-so or you can't change your course. Astrology being one of them, it's just very popular. Let's say that your horoscope, although usually they're more positive, but just for the sake of discussion, let's say that your horoscope predicts that you're going to have a shitty day. And if you believe today is going to suck, guess what? It will, but not because of where the planets are in their orbit, because you believe it to be true. You then go through your day interpreting events from a negative point of view. You mistake that point of view as evidence that your beliefs are correct, and this reinforces your belief even further. And you do this, as you do this, you create more and more and more negativity. your consciousness spirals downward into despair. Same thing could be said, hi Susan, about numerology. Let's say that your numerologist tells you that you're not meant to be wealthy. It's just not in the numbers. But if you adapt beliefs that you're destined to be less than wealthy or even poor, consequently, you're going to miss a lot of opportunities, either because you don't recognize them or because you believe that they're not for you. And in this way, you create lack by focusing on lack. And third, on this point, psychics. A lot of people live and die by what their psychics tell them. Well, what if your psychic was to tell you that a career change was coming? Now, you might be happy with your job. However, because you believe your psychic, you start noticing things about your current job. Suddenly, there's a lot of problems that did not exist before. And so, hence, you created them. As a result, you sabotage your job, not because of some psychic forces at work, but because you bought into the belief that there was a career change coming. And so you made it happen, for better or for worse. So these three examples illustrate how it could appear that mystic forces will reap havoc on your life. But in reality, it has nothing to do with mystic forces. Nothing. So there's point one. Yeah, you could go to YouTube. If you have a problem with accessing the live on Facebook, then go to YouTube, and the channel is Conscious Shifting. Or I think you might be able to click. I think if you can't find it, another thing you could do is if you click the information, the little icon on the Facebook page, it'll take you to our website. Or if you go to the website, consciousshifting.org, from there, there's also a link to YouTube. Just click on it and you'll go there. Exactly. Thoughts. What we believe and then manifest into reality. We do it all the time, maybe unknowingly, but we do it all the time. This reality is nothing more than an expansion of our beliefs. And collectively, our personal experience, that is, our life experience, is nothing more than an expansion of our beliefs. Now, the reality of the world is a collective reality. So it's all of us together that are creating this reality. So in a sense, what the world believes, the world experiences. But again, not because of any mystical forces that are forcing this on us. We're doing this to ourselves. That's the point. That is exactly the point. Hi, Sherry. Susan says, did you realize today is 111? I saw synchronicity twice today. 1111 and 111. Does that mean my angels are telling me something? Could be. Could be. It's also just a date, but a lot of times if you notice things appearing kind of more than you would expect. Now, today the date is 111, so you're going to see that. And at least twice a day, the clock, if you have a digital clock, is going to say 111. But if you start seeing a lot of things beyond that, there may be some messages in that. Stella says we attract what we think. Exactly. As you believe, so you are. There you go. There you go. So number two, listening to the wrong people will lead you down the wrong path. Now, some of these, when I say them, you're probably going, duh. But then we may actually kind of react that way, but then live our lives completely different. Take friendly advice. Maybe a family member or close friend offers you some advice. Perhaps they say to you, it seems that your relationship is in trouble. I've noticed things that almost always spell disaster. So you should do this instead. Now, they may mean well, but that does not mean that they're right. People can only speak from their experience. So I would caution you, the first red flag is if their pattern is one of failed relationships, then listening to them will probably result in your relationship failing, right? Another one would be pop culture. The people in the media are usually looked up to just because they're in the media, or because they're famous, or because they've excelled in some specific area of life. Actors, actresses, musicians, athletes, news anchors, politicians are far too often regarded as experts. Now, they may be experts in their particular craft, but that does not equate to expertise in anything else. You follow that? It's foolish to elevate somebody to expert in all matters because of fame in one, right? I mean, you could have the greatest guitar player in the world. His fingers do amazing things on that instrument. He makes that guitar sing in ways that you've never heard before. But is that who you would go to for brain surgery or open heart surgery? I don't think so. But it's very common for us to just accept that because these people are famous or really smart or experts in one thing, that whenever they talk about anything, we just take it like they're the authority. Well, if that was the case, the world would be in a lot better shape than it is, right? So more often than not, the people that are looked up to in this way are failing us and letting us down. It's not to take away from what they may be really good at. The point is that they're not really good at everything. So don't look to them for that. The other one is actual expert advice. There are experts, but what I would say about that, what I would caution you about that is that it seems that the people that are presented as experts are constantly shocked at what happens, at results. And so those who are constantly surprised, by definition, can't possibly be the experts that they're considered to be, can they? That doesn't make any sense. And believing them will likely result in your being surprised too. It seems to be an obvious point, but apparently this is not the case, because night after night after night, in whatever media you watch or listen to, these experts are paraded in front of you, and they say all kinds of stuff. Sounds smart. Oh yeah, that sounds smart. I'll go along with that. But then it turns out to be exactly the opposite, or they're surprised when something happens. Is how can if you're an expert in something, how can you be that surprised about it? Experts can only rightfully be called experts when they have an extensive proven track record. And even then they can still get it wrong. But one of the signs of somebody who really knows what they're talking about is they can discuss it in a way that makes sense to anybody that they're discussing it to. Einstein, I think, said something along those lines. If you can't explain it to a 4-year-old, then you don't understand it yourself. Something to that effect was the quote. But another thing is that they are able to predict with accuracy. That's what I mean by a proven track record. If they tell you something time and time again, and it turns out to be something other than that, then they're not really an expert, are they? Just something to think about. So in these examples, it's easy to see how you can go wrong listening to others. But then the question comes up, all right, well then, who do I listen to? So that's the next thing we're going to get into. Hi, Chris. How you doing? Chris says our souls know everything. By meditation, we can get the answers and wisdom for anything. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Yeah, Kim says the experts are baffled. So how can they be experts? They can't. They just can't. They're just uh, talking, but it's not there's not really any truth behind what they're saying. They do not have the expertise that they claim to have, or that other people claim that they have. So if you need some advice, and there are experts out there, but you'll find that they are in a specific niche. They know a great deal. They might know some stuff about a lot of things, but what they exceed in will be a niche. There'll be one area that they know a lot about. They're able to discuss it forwards, backwards, diagonally, up, down, every way. They can break things down within that and explain it in a way that's understandable to you. They can make predictions. If this happens within this area of expertise, then this is going to be the result. These are experts. And how do you seek those people out? Well, if you don't know yourself, then you can try to get help from other people. Super successful people do this all the time. It's how they're able to succeed so quickly at things, because they don't necessarily have to learn everything about it. They just need to find somebody that knows everything or most about it. And then they get that information off of them. But they only seek advice from those with a superior track record within a specific field, the field they want to succeed in. So whenever possible, surround yourself with people who have actually accomplished what you want to accomplish. When this is not possible, you can still surround yourself with quotes from and books written by or about people who've done what you want to do. At the very least, you can learn from great thinkers who have been successful in a similar endeavor. So if you look at really successful people, they typically stand on the shoulders of those that came before them. They might make improvements or advancements. They might take it to the next level, but they get their start on the shoulders of those that came before them. And they only, like I say, they only seek advice from people with a superior track record within a very specific field that they want to succeed in. Tina, I tend not to listen to advice based on previous experience. I know the feeling. Yeah, and you got to watch it right now. We're really being hammered. You got to watch what you Google, and you got to watch what you say on social media. We actually have people that, right? I mean, this is how close they're monitoring us now. During a live, last week we're being censored. During the live, they didn't leave it up to me to handle it or discuss it, or no, they just boom, just like that. During the live, they were responding to it faster than I could. I mean, that's what we're under right now. So, the thing is that listening to those who have changed their stars, who have actually done what you want to do, is an excellent way to gain insight into how you can change your stars. And this will help you unlock your inner knowledge, something that Chris was talking about. You already possess it. You just don't know that you do. And most all of our topics, believe it or not, are designed to help you access that inner knowledge. It's there. Trust me, it's there. So that brings us to our fourth point, which is learn to listen to your intuition. As a spiritual being, you have within you right now everything you will ever need. In this moment, deep within you, is all the knowledge that will ever exist. You're part of the all-knowing Great Spirit. It's there. You may not know how to access it, but it's there. So there's the learning curve. Most don't understand this, so they let alone know how to access it. But regardless, it is within. And with higher levels of consciousness, this becomes much easier. However, spiritual development may take a while. We do live in a realm of time. Yes, God speaks to us through our intuition. That's exactly right. So, true intuition is inspiration. In other words, divine guidance. It will always feel right without doing any unnecessary harm to others. Spirit always works for the greater good. So, one way to recognize spirit is that you'll feel good about it. There won't be any negativity or any darkness or at all. If there's negative emotions involved in something, or a negative, just something's not quite right, then it isn't. It may be a misperception, a partial truth, might be outright evil. It just depends. But that's one thing is, if you for some reason don't feel right about something, then it's not something you should just jump into. Spirit, like I say, always works for the greater good. So you can turn that around. And, if it's not for the greater good, if it's some kind of special interest, if it's some kind of predatory gain at the expense of others, right? If it's not for the greater good, because there are ways to solve problems, there are ways to deal with issues, there are ways to relate to others where everybody gains. That's spirit in action. If it's not that, if it's not for the greater good, then it is actually anti-spirit. And I recommend that you look for something that is more inclusive. Jeff Beck, oh no. Jeff Beck is great. One of the truly great guitarists. Awesome stuff. Time for him to move on, though. Yeah, we all do. Cheryl says, gut instinct, soul speaks. Exactly. Tina says, could have saved myself a great deal of heartache by not listening to my intuition. Sometimes it can seem so. And this is why it takes some time to learn to recognize what true intuition is. I know we live in an age where language is meaningless. As soon as you think you understand something, they go and tell you, no, that's not what it means. It means this. And there's something wrong with you if you don't see it that way. So it gets into where everything's gray. And that's intentional. That's intentional. Don't buy into any of that. Deep within, you'll know. Now, sometimes you can be fooled. You can be brainwashed into believing something that isn't so, and we all make mistakes. But over time, you'll learn to recognize what's true intuition and what is not. True intuition is inspired. And inspired insinuates that spirit's involved. That will never send you down the wrong road. You can always trust spirit. You just have to learn to recognize it. And sometimes it can be very confusing because we've been so conditioned to believe things that simply are not so. And I mean everything. Who we are, what we are, what direction we're going as a race, as a country, whatever. It's all BS. So the world doesn't have the answers. I mean, if the world did, we wouldn't be in the mess that we're in. The answers don't exist out there. The answers are within. And by that, I mean accessing spirit. And that sometimes takes a little bit of time to understand. You have to kind of uncondition yourself, uncondition the brainwashing. But true intuition is inspired. It's divine knowledge. And It can be, it's the only thing that can be trusted. Yeah, Beck was awesome. Oh no, bacterial meningitis. I've heard that that's going around. Wow. So always for the greater good. That's a general rule of thumb. Just always for the greater good, meaning that everybody involved benefits, comes out better than they went in. If that's not the case, then it's not the greater good, and it's not divine. In fact, it's anti-spiritual. And the fifth one, your beliefs expand into reality. And this can be good or bad. I won't get too deep into that tonight, but there's always two things going on. There's the physical level and there's the spiritual level. Now, on the physical level, we're kind of co-creating, but we're kind of co-creating within a dream. Being spiritual beings, we have the creative potential, but there's a difference between co-creating with spirit and what would appear to be creating, because this reality is nothing more than a collective projection of our thoughts and beliefs. But a lot of it's false, hence the condition of the world. And that's not really creating. It is, but it isn't. It appears so. Within this illusion that we're living, it seems like reality, but it isn't. So one of the things about recognizing spirit is learning to differentiate between the physical and the spiritual realms. The physical realm is one of ego. I mean, we have to see it that way to even function here. But with the ego comes the idea of separation, that there's me and there's you, that there's us and there's them, that there's good and there's bad, this whole duality thing. That's of ego. And from that, then manifest negative emotions. Shame, guilt, fear, anger, even things like pride and desire. These are all negative emotions. And so they are of ego. So anything that would fall into those categories is not spirit. There's another way to recognize what's anti-spirit. If it's of the ego, then it's then it's basically anti-spirit. It's denying spiritual truth. And that's what causes our problems. But negative beliefs tend to produce negative results. That's what they do. Whereas positive beliefs tend to produce positive results. So if you want to change your stars for the better, it's critical to understand how beliefs influence reality. Make sure I haven't missed anything. Tina, I read something today. It said, always listen to your gut. Could be the only one telling you the truth. Yeah. That may very well be. We'll get into that in a later live, in how to understand energy centers and where thoughts come from, what they really are, along with emotions, how to differentiate and choose between them. That can get a little, that really needs to be broken down into multiple lives. But in general, negative beliefs will produce negative results, whereas positive beliefs will produce positive results. So there's another thing to kind of help you out. So if you understand that, then you're well on your way to understanding how your beliefs are influencing reality. Your beliefs influence your perceptions too. So there's what appears to be going on in the outside world, and then there's how you perceive it. But that is also influenced by your beliefs. Two people can look at things and see two entirely different situations. If that wasn't the case, you wouldn't have all these arguments. You wouldn't have various political parties fighting it out. You wouldn't have countries going to war with each other. This is all because they get entrenched in a different point of view and so identified with it that they then become hostile or violent towards each other. I mean, that's extreme identification with ego, extreme anti-spirit when it rises to violent levels. So your interpretation of events are influenced by your beliefs. It's not just what you create, it's not just what you influence, but actually the way you perceive the world is influenced by your beliefs. Now, perception may control your life, but you control perception because your state of consciousness will shift with a change in beliefs. So you have to. We do a whole live on presence, but you have to be present in the moment. You have to be conscious of the moment. The whole idea of meditation, why I harp on that, and just observing your thoughts without judgment, is just to develop that skill. So as these thoughts and emotions come up, you realize that you're having them, but that you're not them. And you can discern which ones you want to engage, which will determine what you project and manifest into reality. So you got, again, it's an inside job, right? That is really getting to the point, but it has nothing to do with what's outside of you. Absolutely nothing to do with anyone else or anything else. Nothing. Chris, we can see a horrible world or all of the beauty in the world. It's our choice. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. You can see the truth unfolding. You can see the lotus flower blossoming up out of the mud, rising up into the light. You can see all the bad things that are going on in the world as that process in motion. Or you can engage it and sink down into the mud and believe that that's what it's all about. That's all it's ever going to be about, and nothing's going to change it. And that's creating spiritual blocks. It's preventing your own evolution. It's also an outright lie. I know it's a popular one, but it's an outright lie. So a positive outlook results in a far more positive life experience. And with a positive outlook, you'll open yourself up to opportunities and experiences that you would otherwise miss. This holds true on both a physical and a spiritual level. Believing that a great relationship is possible opens the door to a great relationship. It'll manifest at some point. Believing that spiritual enlightenment is possible puts you on the path to spiritual enlightenment. You're going to naturally look for evidence. It's just, it's programmed into our DNA. It's a very primitive part of the brain, the reptilian part of the brain. It just does this, and it's okay. It's best to be aware of it. But the point is that you're going to naturally look for evidence, consciously or unconsciously. Things that support your beliefs are more likely to get noticed. And then you'll use that as evidence to confirm what you believe. I knew it. See, there it is there. That's the ego talking. That's not spirit. This will deepen your belief. You just get sucked further and further and further down. If you believe that you're going to have a good day, then you will find evidence of having a good day. This will in turn create an even more deep-seated belief in having a good day, which of course will result in finding still more evidence of having a good day. You see how that works? You can climb out of it just as easily as you can slide into it. What you believe, you attract. Somebody mentioned that a little while ago, and you can focus on fear and lack, or you can focus on love and abundance. That choice is yours. I think Chris said that earlier, that it was a choice. But either way, your beliefs become your thoughts, and the thoughts that you engage determine your level of consciousness, and your level of consciousness determines what you attract. So you'll attract people and events into your life in this manner. You see that? So, and I knew it. I knew it. See, everybody's like that. No, everybody's not like that. The people you're attracting are, because that's the level of consciousness that you're rolling with. Like magnets, you know? So in other words, what you believe, you create. And your beliefs become your thoughts. And consequently, your thoughts become your words and actions. And therefore, you should be careful with your thoughts. Be mindful of them. You should never engage thoughts that you do not want to manifest into reality. And while this holds true for people and events in our personal lives, this also holds true for the world we collectively create. You like that? So you brainwash yourself with the way you talk to yourself, by the way. It's not just brainwashing from the world. We brainwash ourselves, for better or for worse. Whenever you talk negatively about yourself or to yourself, you say it out loud, or you can just think it. What you're doing is you're creating limitations. This is a very powerful form of subconscious programming. It's using the almighty I am to limit yourself. You're not a limited being. There's nothing limited about spirit. It is all knowing and everywhere at all times, all powerful. That's what spirit is. Nothing limited about it. But if you talk negatively about yourself, or you think negatively about yourself, then you're creating limitations that don't exist, but you believe that they do. And so you live accordingly. And this is what I mean by a powerful form of subconscious programming. You'll actually start accepting reality on those terms, believing things like, I can't do this, or I'll never have this, or I'm not worthy, I do not deserve, I'm not lovable. You hear people say stuff like this all the time. These are terrible affirmations. And that's what they are. Every time you think or say that, you're affirming that you believe that to be true. It's like a mantra that you're manifesting into reality. Beliefs in these things, I mean, that's why people experience what they experience, because they believe it to be so. And then they attract it. And then, subconsciously they act it out. And, with that's what's on your mind, then you're going to find evidence of it, and it's going to deepen your belief. Changing your stars requires you to stop this destructive behavior. Instead, you have to turn it around. And you do this by choosing to believe the opposite. You can just as easily talk positive about yourself, and this will change your subconscious programming, regardless of how it got there. If you believed it because others said that to you, or because of bad experiences you've had, you've repeated it to yourself enough times. However, probably all of them, most people, most things, it's going to be a little bit of all of that. But replace those old destructive beliefs, those old programs, with things like, I can do this, right? I can't do this, I can do this. You believe either one. You don't have to know how to do it. You can find that out later. But if you don't believe that you can, you're never going to look for how to do it. You're never going to experiment. You're never going to discover it, because you believe it to be impossible, at least in your case. But stop and think about it. The person that's done it, whatever it is, they didn't know how to do it before they did it. And yet they have. So if you accepted their beliefs, you would too. You would do it too. That's the difference. They believe differently than you. That's all it is. So they manifest it. You believe in the opposite, you manifest the opposite. It's really that simple. So I can do this. I will have this. I am worthy. You see the difference? Now you're using the I am for the positive. You're confirming that you're an unlimited spiritual being. And so you'll start manifesting that. I deserve. I am lovable. Of course you are. That's another definition of spirit is love. How can how can love itself be unlovable? The whole idea is ridiculous if you think about it. It's nonsense. It's mental illness. That's what it is. Brainwashing of the lowest order. It says, and what we're programmed with controls our subconscious, which is most of our day. Exactly. So program yourself with what you actually want in life. There you go. Kim says, isn't the human condition limited? As we know it, it is. As we know it. As we believe it to be, it is. That's what when I talk about things like the evolution of mankind, and that the next step in our evolution is going to be spiritual, I'm talking about shifting into a higher state of consciousness in mass, collectively shifting into a higher state of consciousness. The only thing that can come from that is a higher reality. Moving, in other words, the higher in consciousness mankind evolves, the closer to heaven on earth we're going to find ourselves in. Now, you could say that, all right, well, you get high enough in all of that, maybe, the planet's going to exist as something different than what we see it to be now, not as solid, or, the human race might change somewhat. Yeah, I'm sure it would. But it's only because these false beliefs that are causing these heavy, dense things, as we descended into matter. I mean, we're kind of slumming it right now. So as we rise in consciousness, things, it won't only become more like heaven on earth, but things will probably change on a physical level as well. They'll become less physical. In other words, the higher the state of consciousness we hold, the less physical things will be. But so in a sense, yes, the human condition is limited. Where we're at right now is limited by our beliefs. But as we transcend those beliefs, as we rise in consciousness, as we evolve spiritually, the human condition is going to become one of something completely different. The more like spirit, the more we identify with spirit, the less we identify with physical creatures, limited physical creatures. And so the less limitations we'll have. Think of it that way. Susan says she believed she could and she did. Exactly. Cheryl, dream it, do it. There you go. That's it. That's it. Just saying these things out loud brings a different feeling, doesn't it? You can feel the energy shift. As you focus on the positive, you'll find new evidence too. You will. You won't be able to help it. And this will deepen your belief. And you will continually attract more love and abundance. That's what'll happen. And as a result, this is what you will project out onto the world. Consequently, you'll help others do the same. So, you can look for the positive as easily as the negative. And we'll talk about that a little bit more, and in some different model I'll give you to work with that. But you can look for the positive as easily as you can look for the negative. You can. And what you believe is what you're going to experience. That's just the way it works. You'll manifest or attract what you are. It's that simple. You are what you think, and you think what you believe. Changing your stars is entirely possible. First, you start by believing that it's possible. And then by believing in the possibilities. And then finally, It's by actually following your stars, following your dreams, following the possibilities and the potential, that you actually learn how to change your stars. You do it by doing it, in other words. So that's it, unless there's any last minute questions, and then we'll move on to a healing circle. Try to work with this a little bit. Susan says, my mantra every day, I'm beautiful, healthy, healed, loved, perfect, and worth it. Exactly. Chris says, speaking it to existence. Yeah. Hi, Tolly. You know that the voice, the energy that's projected by that is powerful. Just like music, when you hear beautiful music, you see how it shifts you. The voice can do that too. You can actually speak it. It's energy being projected. Dolly says that epigenetics proves that we can change our genetic tendencies. It's true. That's how powerful. Thank you, Chris. That's how powerful this stuff is. That you can actually switch on and off characteristics of your DNA, gene expression. That's how powerful this stuff is. Think about that. That's what epigenetics is all about. It's about the power of the mind influencing the biology of the body, and specifically the genes, which characteristics are manifested and which ones are not. It's using the power of the mind to do that. Thought energy, if you will. Good stuff. Thank you, Cheryl. All right, so let's move on to a healing circle, and then we'll call it a night. Let me get this up. There we go. All right, so everybody gather around, form a circle, join hands. That's it. Now begin breathing, with the eyes and mouth gently closed. Begin breathing through the nose, down to the lower energy center, just below the belly button. And then exhale back out through the nose. And another deep breath, breathing in the peace. And as you exhale, let go of all tension, stress, troublesome thoughts. Another deep breath, breathing in peace. And as you exhale, let go of anything that is not peace. And continue breathing on your own. Settle into the relaxation. Let the outer world go for a while. And drift deeply into the center of your mind. And what I want you to do is visualize a cup, a very special cup. It has a large base and a large stem, and there's a large cup on top of the stem. And it's made of precious metals. The cup is also encrusted with gemstones, like rubies and emeralds and sapphires. So you've got all the precious metals that this is made out of, and it's encrusted with all these gemstones. Now, this is the cup of beliefs. It contains all of your beliefs. So with your mind's eye, look into your cup. Do you see any limiting beliefs? Perhaps you've got beliefs in there that life sucks, or there's certain things about life that sucks. That's a limiting belief. So pour it out. You now have room for another belief. Fill your cup up with life is a great adventure. See how different that feels? So instead of living your life as this sucks or that sucks, live it as life is a great adventure. That's what you want in your cup. Now look back into your cup. Do you see perhaps that other people control my life. That's a limiting belief. So pour that out. And you now have room for another belief. So fill your cup with, I'm in control of my life. Look again into your cup. Do you see that I can't do anything right? Or I can't do this right or that right? Those are limiting beliefs. So pour them out of your cup. And again, you have room for other beliefs. Fill your cup with, I can do anything I set my mind to. Look back into your cup. Do you see I will never have the life I want? That is a limiting belief. Pour it out. And once again, you have room for another belief. So fill your cup with, I create my own destiny. Look into your cup. Do you see I do not deserve to be happy or I'm not worthy? Those are limiting beliefs. Pour them out. You now have room for other beliefs. Fill your cup with, I deserve to be happy. I am worthy, and there is no outside force stopping me from being happy right here, right now. Look into your cup. Do you see I'm not lovable in any way? This is a limiting belief. So pour it out. You now have room to fill your cup with, I am lovable. I give love. I receive love. I am love. If you have any other limiting beliefs, anything that other than you're an unlimited spiritual being, they're false. But believing in them gives them power. So pour them out of your cup and then fill your cup with truth. I'll give you about a minute just to sit there, look in your cup. And if you find anything that's limiting in any way, anything that's negative in any way, pour it out and then replace it with the opposite. We'll continue in about a minute. Okay. So now look into your cup. You are an unlimited spiritual being. God is within you. You give love, you receive love, you are love, and so it is. Okay, slowly open your eyes. So that's kind of how you can do it. When you have to learn to observe your thoughts and emotions. When these negative limiting things come up, replace them with something else. And if it helps, visualize the cup. Just if that's what's in your cup, pour it out. But just as importantly, now you have room in the cup for something else. So put something positive in there. Don't leave room for some other negative stuff to get into your cup. But if you do this, if you're aware of this and you start doing this on a regular basis, every time these limiting beliefs, these negative thoughts and emotions come up, if you just replace them with something positive, what you'll find over time is there won't be anything but the positive. really deep-seated, troubling things that might take you a while. Other things that might be, a time or two and it's done. But you always have a choice what you're going to engage, which of your thoughts and emotions, and therefore what you're going to manifest into reality. You too. Thank you, guys. We are, Chris. We are much more powerful than we understand. Much more powerful. Kim reminding everybody to drink a full glass of water. So, with that, I honor the God within you. And remember, until the next time, the only way to bring about the greater good is to be the greater good. Good night.